That gets us to the last item that is on our agenda. The council will now take up agenda item number 74 to conduct a public hearing and receive public comment on the City of Austin's 2017-2018 proposed budget. Council will hear more public comment on the proposed budget on August 31st of 2017. I'm now going to call the speakers to the podium. The first 20 speakers will each have 3 minutes. We're going to, for the first 60 minutes of testimony that we have, speakers will get 3 minutes. If you have donated time by our rules, that would be 2 minutes per donated speaker. And after we reach 60 minutes, then everyone will have 1 minute. We have some folks, I think, that are here with children that I said I would call out of order so that the children could get home. But the time that the speakers get will be the time that they were placed on the sign-up. So no one being called early is going to get more time than they would have otherwise gotten. Okay? So I have the first speaker would be Aidan O'Leary. And Aidan has donated time from Bob. Is Bob Leibel here? Leibel? Is Bob Leibel here? Let me first ask, is Aidan O'Leary here?
I think they're coming.
Okay. That sounds like it. These are... Okay. So Aidan O'Leary. Okay. And I have you have donated time from Bob Leibel. I see Bob. And Maya Pilgrim. Is Maya here?
Yes.
Got it. All right, Aidan, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I had a PowerPoint. Okay. Okay, cool. Hi, I'm Aidan O'Leary. I'm going to be talking about public health in relation to funding in Austin and Travis County. So I got a quick table of contents here. I'll be doing a quick breakdown of of public health funding in the City of Austin in the 2016 to 2017 financial year. I'll be briefly discussing how other cities compare to Austin in terms of public health funding, and I will also be briefly discussing racial disparities in public health. So first, this is a quick breakdown of what the funding to the Department of Health goes to in the 2016 to 2017 financial year last year. So about 64% went to staff, and that includes stuff like salaries, insurance, and leave pay. The next highest category is infrastructure, which is 13.4%, and that includes buildings, maintenance for buildings, garbage collection, stuff like that. And then we have other, which includes everything, which includes fees, sort of like text tag, if they're paying for that, awards and recognition, so like monetary awards and postage. And then direct public health funding, that would be direct grants to private public health organizations and health advertising for public health purposes. Supplies, which is the last category with 2.6%, would include computers, food, equipment, things like that. But how much money goes in here? So in 2014, these are 2014 numbers, Austin spent about $65 million on public health and is actually the lowest of these 5 cities in terms of percentage of budget, dollar value, and dollars per capita. So, for example, Seattle, with the next highest percentage, spends about 1.5 times as much, or 2 times as much as Austin does, whereas Denver, with 9.7%, spends $2,400 per capita on public funding. Austin only spends $68 per capita on public funding. And this relative lack of funding can manifest itself in ways like these, such as racial disparities in public health in Travis County. For example, African American people in Travis County have higher rates of HIV infection and cardiovascular disease, with African American males being twice as likely to have HIV as white males, and African American females being 12 times as likely to have HIV than white females. Cardiovascular disease affects the African American population twice as much as it does the white population. Tuberculosis also disproportionately affects the Latino population in Travis County. The Latino population makes up about 34% of the... Oh, that's time, I guess.
You can finish up your sentence.
Finish up? Okay.
Just finish your sentence. You have to conclude.
34% of the population in Travis County is Latino, but 46% of the tuberculosis cases in Travis County are Latino, which is disproportionate. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Good job. The next speaker I have here is speaker number 95. It's, and I'm not sure I'll pronounce this correctly, Shuli Rojas Tang. Okay. Wei Li. Okay. And then is Hilda Gutierrez here? Okay. It's donated time. Lauren Ice. Lauren Ice here. Thank you. Is Jornay Coleman here? Okay. And Julia Von Alexander. Is Julian Von Alexander here? Is Danielle Meshia here? Is she out in the hall too?
We have a bunch of little kids eat lunch over there.
I know. Is Uzi McCoy here?
Yes.
Vivian Nudick? And Libby Goldberg. And you're going to show a video?
Yes.
It takes about-
our video is about the pools in East Austin.
Okay, it takes about 8 minutes to your pool?
9 minutes, I think, but yeah.
Okay.
It's
With-
just a quick video about...
Okay. I think we have like 9 kids here. There's usually a maximum of the number of speakers that we can get at 7, but I think we waived that so we can watch this video. Okay? Please, your podium.
All right, so our video is about the pools in East Austin, and it's just about us. We were on the Montopolis swim team and just kind of our experience, so we hope you guys enjoy.
Thank you.
It was a lot of fun. I learned how to do a lot more strokes because usually I just stick to doggy paddle. It was really fun being on a team, having the teammates getting to practice every day, but I did notice a couple things that our pool did not have, like that was under resource that made it hard to be able to practice. My personal preference in swimming and competing is backstroke. So when you're swimming, you can only look up. And Montopolis doesn't have flags that you use to indicate where you're going if you're going off to the side when the goal is coming. So whenever I was swimming backstroke in Montopolis, I would like hit my head on the wall because I couldn't see it, like hit my hand like that, or bump into people or go sideways. But then at all the other pools that we competed at, they all had flags. So that was something we didn't have. We also didn't have lane lines, so there's nothing to separate lanes. So yeah, there's not even lanes drawn on the floor.
We kept bumping into our teammates, and it was very hard.
The only equipment that we got were kickboards. They were pretty old, not kept well, just in the back of the room, and they were all too small for us. They were like kid-sized kickboards that are made for like younger children, so it didn't really help us in our swimming.
Well, whenever we went to the meets, I absolutely noticed a difference between facilities. The further west we got, the nicer the pools were. Things that were west and south or north were a lot nicer, usually because they were newer. Montopolis, there were no meets there. They don't have lanes. Most of the kids on our team were children of color, and most of the children on the other teams were not.
You know, these are neighborhood pools. They should all be the same, but they're not because the ones on the east side are much smaller, older, dirtier, and the ones on the west side are bigger and cleaner and more new. And it just goes to show you that there Austin. There's been a prioritization of resources in white neighborhoods, and since 1928, when their master plan relocated Black and Latino communities to a certain section of the city, then it became much more obvious to anyone to see how that section in terms of public services was so under-resourced compared to other parts of the city. Five times the size of the pools in our neighborhood. They have sinks that out there's toilet paper, there's lights, and there's showers. The floors are very not taken care of. There's only 2 stalls versus I think there was maybe about 10 in the other one. Here there's only 2. And we have this kind of metal that overheats a lot because I touched it and it was burnt. There's garbage everywhere. Also, there's no roof. And over here, there's only 1 light. And also, next to the sink, there's no soap.
Pools in West Austin were cleaner, bigger, and had more staff. Their teams had more practice hours than ours on the east side. Before the swim team started, there was a brochure, and we were looking at it, and the times for the practice, we only got an hour, and there was a couple other teams, like 3 more that only got an hour, and then all the other pools got 2 hours to 2.5 hours.
There was only 4 pools in Austin that got 1 hour for practice, and it was all the pools on the east side.
I told my mom, and one day when we were at practice, we told the lady that ran the swim team, and she told us it was because they had different teams, but so they would split their team, but they still each practice at 2 hours and a half.
Well, as a parent, I've been really interested in my kids learning how to swim well. I started trying to register my kids for swim classes about 3 or 4 years ago. I signed them up and was really excited the first year, I remember, and then I heard that it was canceled due to under-enrollment. 2 years ago, I tried again. This was now for swim team. Then found out that it was canceled as well. All the swim teams that were actually not canceled were more on the west side of the city, far away driving. So then this year, a few of us mothers met with the aquatics office months ago to tell them that this had been our experience, and what they explained was that because they have to decide how many coaches to hire and swim instructors, they decide a couple weeks before the deadline where they're going to cancel based on how the numbers are looking and based on maybe patterns from the past. So we took it upon ourselves, a group of mothers, to start recruiting kids and signing them up ahead of the deadline.
This year we made sure to get at least 10 kids on the list, but a lot of the parents couldn't access the scholarship application because it was online, and they didn't have paper applications at the rec, and we had to do our own outreach, and put out flyers and recruit people because the aquatics folks weren't doing that.
Also, the kids that were trying to sign up needed scholarships, and the scholarship applications take weeks to process. So then there's all these institutional, systemic ways that even if you're trying to sign up ahead of time, it doesn't matter because the scholarship doesn't get approved till after the deadline. At the rec centers and at the pools, there's no flyers that explain about the teams. We went and told people at the pool, hey, did you know there's a swim team? They said we never heard of a swim team anywhere. We never saw a flyer. Aquatics says we put information in every rec center about it. And just know the information is on 70-something page booklet, or on page maybe 67, it says swim teams.
in English that are on a shelf in the rec centers. And if that's what they think is getting the word out. So we made our own, ourselves, a few moms, made flyers in English and Spanish, printed them ourselves, copied them ourselves, brought them to the pool, started going around talking to families, and we found actually a lot of families interested in being on the swim team. They just have an option. I want my kids to be able to be comfortable with swimming, have access to it just like any other kid would want. And I want my kids to be able to do it with other kids that are their friends and their neighbors and not have to go be somewhere in a community that is not ours, where we live, just to be able to participate. I want their friends to be able to participate. What was good about it was that we had each other, but to be better swimmers, we do need those things like kickboards, lanes, flippers, things like that.
You feel more as a team, you don't feel like you're outside when everybody else has something you don't.
Thank you very much. And clearly the best video we've ever had. All right, the next speaker with a minute is Annalisa Plant. I think this was signed up as 112.
Hello, thank you. My name is Annalisa Plant. I'm here with CCU. I also, and my son who's behind me, I also work at the Dell Medical School, but I'm here as an individual. I appreciate the chance to talk and feel strongly that people directly affected by issues should be the ones who have a voice in guiding solutions. So thank you for letting us do that today. I mostly just want to take the chance to remind all of us that city council members do work for us, as represent us in the district, but also represent an institution that has a lot of power, and that institutional power in itself and systemic power can be used in the direction of justice and equity. And so other people might talk about the specifics that CCU would like to request the budget be focused on this year. I just more generally want to say that equity does not happen unless it's intentional, because the default in our country is otherwise. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Israel Badillo. Okay. And is Denise Loya here? I see that. I just wanted to make sure you were here. You have 2 minutes, and I see this is 105.
Hi, everyone. My name is Israel Badillo, and I'm actually playing a video on behalf of somebody who is here but is uncomfortable coming up. Thank you.
Thank you.
El presupuesto el que esté más apoyado a la comunidad. Es lo que queremos, de eso que ya no haya más para la policía, porque con eso está bien. Lo que necesitamos es para el presupuesto para los bajos ingresos, que es salud, vivienda y educación. Es lo que estamos pidiendo. Habiendo presupuesto para la policía, lo que se está buscando es que la policía coopere con más. Entonces eso es lo que estamos también tratando de que ustedes nos ayuden. Me parece muy injusto y muy inhumano de las personas que están en el mando, que están arriba y que tienen el poder de cambiar tanta injusticia y tanta desigualdad. Reto a las personas que están en el mando y que pueden cambiar el rumbo de esta historia a que tan solo un día pasarán sin comer, para que miraran pedimos que toquen su corazón y cambien el rumbo de esta historia y creen nueva generación y bebés y niños saludables, fuertes y sanos.
Okay, thank you very much. The next speaker that we have is Graciela. It's okay. Graciela Valdez O'Brien. Okay, and then is Daniela Acevedo here? Okay, I have these as 110 on the list. And then is there Steph Adler here? She's outside? Okay. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth O'Brien, and this is Graciela Valdez O'Brien. She's my daughter. Graciela is very, very nervous. She didn't want to speak, and so she was hoping that I could ask her yes or no questions. Does that still sound okay? Did you like it when there were police officers in your school?
No.
Graciela was in 2nd grade this last year. Did you tell me that you felt like the police officers were going to arrest some of the children in your school?
Kind of.
Were the police officers nice to you, and did they talk to the children and try to be nice to the children? Or did they just stand there?
They just stand there.
Do you want to show everybody how they made the children put their heads on the cafeteria table while they were waiting for their teachers in the morning?
Yeah.
Can I show everybody? Like this? And were you allowed to lift up your head off the table?
No.
And were you allowed to talk to each other?
No.
And did you have to stay like that the entire time that you were waiting for your teachers to come?
Yes.
And were the science experiments canceled? And did the teachers blame the cancellation of the science experiments on the bad behavior of the children in your school?
Yes.
Yeah. And did you feel like some of the teachers lacked respect for some of the children in your school even though they needed love?
Yeah.
Yeah. And did you enjoy going to the Montopolis Rec Center?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Were they nice to you there? Were they nicer at the Montopolis Rec Center than at the school?
They were both the same.
They were both the same. Did your mommy sometimes think that they were nicer at the Montopolis Rec Center than at the school? Was that a leading question? Thank you. Do you have anything else you want to say, sweetie? That was our experience in District 3. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Texas at Austin, so as such, I'm prohibited from holding outside employment. And so Graciela and I have a limited budget to work with, and we really sought out community resources, but we were very, very, very unsatisfied with the quality of the public schools in District 3. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Graciela. Thank you for coming. The next speaker is Samuel Woodbury, and I think I have that as number 111, Samuel Woodbury. And the next speaker, if you want to come down to the next podium, is Camino Rojas Tang.
Hello, my name is Samuel Woodbury. I am almost 9 years old. I am here with CCU. I would like to say I think more money should be given to the poor neighborhood pools because there is a great difference between the richer and poorer pools. Also, more money should go towards the health of the Austin people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Hola, mi nombre es Camino Rojas Tang. Estoy aquí con CCU, tengo 8 años. Me gustaría decir que creo que más dinero debería ir a los barrios más pobres y sus piscinas porque son muy diferentes que los ricos. Gracias.
Gracias. The next speaker we have is Paulo Rojas. Paulo Rojas. And then is Yuri McCoy here? Is you? Okay. You have 2 minutes.
Oh, okay. I'm Paula Rojas, and I wanted to ask all the CCU folks to come down here with us. and the USA folks who are with us to step up with us, please. We have a bunch more out there, but just wanted you all to know that we are here. There's many more of us that couldn't physically be here today. Elena, the person that spoke during Israel Vadillo's time, is physically here but not comfortable being in the room because of the situation that's happening now. Folks who have concerns about immigration are less likely to participate, but I wanted you to know that she and many others that we work with would have liked to be here today as well, but with time they are less comfortable coming down to City Hall. But they are here with us, and she spent a lot of time making the video because she wanted you to know that she wanted to be here but didn't feel safe standing in this room right now on a camera. As we've all been saying, and we've been saying it for a while, we have a few recommendations around the budget. We really think the budget can impact equity in a way for the whole city. And we worked really hard in collaboration with many of you to pass the Equity Tool resolution. We know it's being implemented. We urge you to use it during the budget process in a meaningful way, that it helps in decision making. We think that the budget, if you can allocate funds to the equity office so that it can really do the work that it needs to do, that will make a difference. Otherwise, it's a shell. We also have others that will tell you about our other recommendations. Thank you. Gracias.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Amina Makamba. Amina Makamba. And is Sandra Molinari here? And is Donnie Slobaugh here? Is Donnie Slobaugh? Okay. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, sir. Hello, everyone. My name is Amina Makamba. I'm living in District 1. I'm here with CCU. I'd like to share the part of my story. I came here in Austin in December 14, and I had the triplet babies the next day, and without any family, without any, it takes a village to raise one baby. What about 3 babies? So I went through a lot without any family, being far from my family, and I really expected to get more. I had help because one of my babies was 1 pound when she was born, and they had to stay, 3 of them had to stay to the NICU for a lot of period, and one stayed for almost 4 months, and up to today she still needs special equipment for her to continue to live. So I'd like to say thank you for the medical support that I'm getting now, and in the same time, I think the government can allow more money to support family of multiples like mine, like my family, on providing more housing, affordable programs, and child care and transportation. You cannot imagine how it's very difficult to go through the system, the transportation system. And I say thank you for all the support, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I had that as speakers 102 and then 96. And then at 101 we have...
Thank you so much, all of you, for all the support.
Thank you.
I
have...
just want to thank you, Miss Edna, for everything you try to do it for us, for this country. It's not easy. I just want to thank you.
Thank
for
you.
the great wonderful job you are doing. This is on behalf of African community, wherever we are. I just want to thank you. May God bless you, God. Thank you por el palo, mamá. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next speaker we have is Elena Colon. And then is Lauren Ross here?
Yeah.
Okay. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Elena Colon. This is my daughter, Tuli. We live in District 3, and we're here with Communities of Color United. We're here because we strongly see the need for the city to we think the city needs to prioritize this. We think the city needs to prioritize racial equities. We think the city needs to be thinking about this every day the way that we're thinking about this every day. It's ignored all the time. And right now is a great opportunity for y'all to see and hear everybody's stories, but you should be thinking about it all the time. It should be on your mind all the time. People who are dealing with these struggles never stop dealing with them. It's every day, all day long. It's always hard. And y'all should get a small amount of that, at least every day, like we do. Thank you.
Hola, sí. Mi nombre es Patricia Zavala, vivo en el Distrito 2. Llegué a vivir a la ciudad de Austin desde a los 15 años. Tengo 22 años viviendo aquí. Siempre he vivido en Austin desde jovencita. No me gustaría moverme de la ciudad. Me gustaría que la ciudad diera más ayuda a los que vivimos aquí, que vinimos aquí a trabajar. A mí me ha resultado difícil aplicar para el Medicaid, ya que acabo de tener un bebé. Tiene 5 meses y no pudimos calificar. Así fue como conocí el programa de Mamá Sana. Ellas me ofrecieron apoyo durante el parto de mi bebé, especialmente en la parte emocional. Siento que fue un embarazo muy hermoso porque recibí mucho apoyo. Cuando nos reuníamos, platicábamos, hacíamos yoga y me emocioné mucho de ese programa. Tengo entendido que la ciudad de Austin cuenta con muchos ingresos y me gustaría que ofrecieran más apoyo para los residentes que ofrecemos nuestras labores aquí en beneficio de la misma ciudad. Gracias.
Marisa, hold on. Okay. Do you want to hear that in English? Or are you good?
Okay. So wait. You had 2 minutes, so you can. I would like to hear it in English.
Okay, so my name is Patricia Zavala. I came to live in the city in Austin 15 years ago. I have 22 years living here. I came to live when I was 15. I've always lived in Austin ever since I was young, and I would not like to leave from the city. I would like for the city to offer more support for the folks that work here. It has been difficult for me to apply for Medicaid, and I just had a child, and my child is now 5 months old, and we didn't qualify. And that's how I learned about Mama Sana. It was they who offered me support during my birth, the birth of my child, in particular emotional support. I feel like it was a very beautiful hug because I had a lot of support when we got together and talk about how to relax, and we did yoga, and in this way I love the program, which is Mama Sana. Thank you.
Marisa Perales, is Isabel O'Leary here? Isabel O'Leary? Yes, in the back. There. Got you. Ms. Perales, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name's Marisa Perales. I'm from District 3. I also am pleased to serve on the Environmental Commission representing District 2. And tonight I'm here as a member of CCU. A couple of weeks ago at the Environmental Commission meeting, we had a wonderful presentation by our equity officer, by Brian Oakes, Kelly Coleman, and Carmen Yanes Pulido. And hearing about what that office is doing was really exciting. It was really motivating. It stirred up a really great conversation among the commissioners, and it gave us a lot of ideas about how to try to implement the equity lens in our own decision-making and deliberations. But to make sure that this office is as successful as we're all hoping that it can be, it's going to need a lot of funding. Without funding, it's basically set up to fail. So I've come tonight with a couple of ideas for funding. I know that the budget is tight, and so I thought I would propose some ideas on where to look for additional funding. One idea is to revisit the agreement that the city has with the domain, by which the city provides a couple $1 million a year, basically in subsidies to the domain. And from my quick review of that agreement, it looks like there's not much risk to the city if those payments stopped, and there's not much to lose. On the other hand, there's a lot that the city would gain, and to the tune of a couple $1 million a year that could be put to the equity office. In addition, one way of practicing equity now through the budget process is to also apply additional funds to the public health department and to freeze the budget for APD. Lastly, I think that having heard from the equity officer, we can all agree that the departments that are participating in the pilot program are sufficiently benefiting that we should ask the departments to contribute part of their budgets to the equity office as well. Thank you.
So I had Mr. Perales' number 94 on the list. Okay, thank you. The next speaker that I have here is Juliana Gonzalez. Is Juliana Gonzalez here? And then Alice Buffkin. Is Alice Buffkin here donating time? Still here or no? Don't see Alice Buffkin. You have 3 minutes.
Lost a donor by taking too long. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Juliana Gonzalez. I'm the Executive Director of the Austin Tenants Council. And I'm here to talk about the work we do as part of our nonprofit agency in terms of tenants' rights and education. I wanted to start by thanking you. Thank you to this council and the many before it that have supported the Austin Tenants Council over the almost 45 years that we've been in Austin. You've been very, very supportive over the whole history, but I've been really overwhelmed in my 2 years as the executive director by the support that the city has shown for the Tenants Council and more importantly for the tenants we serve. So thank you. Thank you also for approving the CDBG Action Plan, which funds our Renters' Rights Assistance Program. That's how we offer counseling and mediation services in Austin to City of Austin residents. We will put that to good use, so thank you. And I want to raise your attention to 3 things, if I don't run out of time, that we have as unmet needs in that program. I'll start with the most important, just in case. The thing I want to talk about first today is our staff salaries. I know that nonprofit is not money work, and I know that as a city council, you've committed to a living wage in Austin, and I want to let you know that I have staff that is not making the living wage. I have staff that is under the poverty level. I have staff that is, all my program staff is eligible for the programs they work on. And so I want to draw your attention to that and let you know that we're doing a external compensation study right now, and we'll have the results of that very soon to be able to tell your offices how much we need to make this work better. I just think we're very lucky to have staff that have served. I have a staff member who's worked for us for 29 years. We are so lucky that they are dedicated enough to stick around. But that's not good for our organizational health, which means it's not good for our city, and it's not good for our tenants, and it's also not good for our people. It's not the right thing to do. So I'll be talking to your offices about that number in the coming week. In addition to that, we have two other programs that I think are very worthy. One is the Guide to Affordable Housing, which we publish or have traditionally published. We need to be funded for that in order to be able to continue that effort. And one is we're proposing a program related to eviction, advocacy, and prevention, by which advocates from my office could prepare and accompany tenants to eviction hearings. In Texas, you don't have to be an attorney to to advocate in court for a tenant. And we just need a very small amount of money, something like $65,000, to be able to add that to our programming, which you already fund. Thank you very much for your time.
The next speaker is Paul Robbins. Robbins, you have 3 minutes. Is Paul still here? Okay, that goes then to Kathy Mitchell. Is Kathy Mitchell here? Is Rob Brill here donating time? Rob Brill? No? Is Nicole Metzen here? Okay, you have 3 minutes plus 2 minutes, so you have 5 minutes.
I don't think I'll need that much. Hi, my name is Kathy Mitchell, and I'm here today with a modest proposal. We ask, and I'm here on behalf of the Austin Justice Coalition and a group of groups that have been working on this for quite some time. We ask that this year you end Meet and Confer and walk away from the contract that governs the Police Association. We ask that you vote no when it comes before you and begin an incremental process of allocating public safety resources, just a few $1 million this year, to more effective approaches that address root causes. Further, I understand that your concept menu includes millions in new patrol positions, currently unfunded and competing with your priorities. Stay on track. The commitments you have already made to increase funding for health and social services are critical to public safety. These services have been starved for more than 2 decades. Your equity office must be resourced appropriately, as you've heard from others tonight. Address mental health needs with mental health care, not policing. Address addiction with treatment, not policing. Address homelessness with homes and interventions recommended by your homeless team. Address truancy with age-appropriate programming, including swimming, as we've heard tonight. You can begin to do all of this. Terminate the Meet and Confer agreement and reallocate millions of dollars without touching officer salary, step pay, or overtime. Officers will remain the highest paid in the state. You will be able to weigh, if you do this, every budget cycle, the importance of public safety solutions based on policing, side by side with all the social services that also contribute to stronger families and stronger communities. We ask that you take this step now for 2 reasons. The contract locks in for another 5 years our current system of addressing too many social problems with police. It does that by putting so much money in that pot that there's no money for alternatives. We also ask you to do this because the juice, the promised accountability measures available in a contract that can preempt state civil service law, ain't worth the squeeze. Community groups came together and identified 8 reasonable accountability improvements to the police Meet and Confer agreement that might make that agreement worth its very high cost. After watching every negotiation session and meeting with the city manager, it has become clear why this process has not produced an appropriate system of civilian oversight after nearly 2 decades of trying. As we are frequently told, this is a negotiation. In a negotiation, leverage matters. The city's leverage has always been its ability to pay officers more. Over time, that has resulted in a steady, contractually enforced allocation of a larger and larger share of GR to officer pay and benefits. According to the city's publicly posted budget, public safety has now reached nearly 70% of GR, policing accounts for 41.4% of GR, and this contract locks in most of that cost, with increases guaranteed over the years. Despite the huge investment of GR, APA has agreed to very little reform over the years. In some respects, the current contract offers less accountability than we would get under Chapter 143, the statutory framework we return to should we end this experiment. In a negotiation, either side can say no to proposals from the other side. It is clear that APA has already said no or clearly will say no to almost all significant proposals for reform. Some of our proposals were even offered up by the city in trade for other of our proposals. There does not appear to be any path by which the major community priorities are likely to emerge from this process in any acceptable form. With that in mind, we urge you to consider the larger framework. This council has already shown a commitment to moving incrementally in a better direction. I am personally excited to see the Herman Center open. Can I finish my sentence? I'll only say we are in a rare moment. You have an opportunity to make a decision about this 5-year agreement in the context of the budget, and that does not happen very often. If you don't consider this seriously this year, you won't have an opportunity again for a very long time.
Thank you. Paul Robbins. Paul Robbins. So I'm guessing we probably have a couple, 2.5 hours worth of speakers. And we know from experience this will go a lot faster if we can go from speaker to speaker quickly in the transition. So I would just ask that. Paul, you have 3 minutes.
Council, I debated what to say tonight, and I thought that if I got too far into my own past, it might come off as self-piteous. So I will just state that for many years, I lived below or just over the poverty line, and I get it. Nonetheless, this has made me realize all the more that ideology itself does not work, that it must, to arrive at solutions, one must do it pragmatically with the best numbers available. So I'm going to revisit the subject of low-income programs for Austin Energy, and I'm going to offer to all the council, particularly council members Kassar, Garza, and Tovo, that I do have, but anyone who wants to meet with me, that I do have a lot of background in this matter. I have, in fact, helped plan a very cost-effective low-income program, the city's multifamily program, back in the 1990s. Without being overly boastful, were it not for me, that program may not have existed. And I would like to help more low-income people in as cost-effective manner as possible. I am offering to meet with any and all of you to help move this forward. Relinquish the rest of my time. Good evening.
If Chaz Moore would come down. Is Helen Miller here? Helen Miller? No? Is Barton Ballard here? Yes. Okay. So you'll have 3 + 2. You'll have 5 minutes, Mr. Moore. And is James Casey here? you'll speak at the next podium, okay? Mr. Moore.
And I'll try to be quick. I just want to follow up with some stuff that Kathy said. So meet and confer, the process of meet and confer started after the city had the POFG group. It was a police oversight focus group. This group met for 2 years. It was stakeholders, police department, and all these people. It was yet another task force that, if anybody ever writes a book about Austin, it's going to be full of task force. But so they met for 2 years, and they came up with all these things about civilian oversight, about police accountability, and all these things. And then when they got to the actual contract, these things, like Councilmember Flanagan talked about earlier, they were taken out. So the task force for 2 years, community said this is what we wanted. They took it out. And then pretty much the meet and confer contract has stayed the same ever since. So in retrospect, meet and confer was to pre-exempt 143, and in exchange for paying more, the city was paying for police accountability for police misconduct, a better hiring practice, and civilian oversight. The city has not gotten any of those things over the decade that I think 2 or 3 meet and confer contracts have been in existence. What we have gotten is the deaths of Sophia King, Larry Eugene Jackson, Morgan Rankins, David Joseph, and we have gotten very little police accountability. Out of all the people that have been murdered, and these are the big cases, that have been murdered, only one cop has been fired. So we didn't get our cash value for police accountability. Hiring practices. Every time I see a cop on the scene, and I work downtown, every time I see a cop, they look like a white heterosexual male. They don't look like women. They don't look like black men. They don't look like the Latino women. It's always white men that I see coming into the bars or patrolling 6th Street or even coming to my neighborhood when they're called. So we didn't get our cash value for that with hiring practices. Civilian oversight, I don't even want to waste 30 seconds on that because we have an Office of Police Monitor that is a complete joke because it has no teeth. They can't do anything, and the civilian review panel is just all smoke and mirrors. So the city has paid out so much money over the existence of meet and confer, and we haven't gotten anything for it. So to follow up on Kathy, or on what Kathy was saying, AJC and some other groups, we think it's just time to end this experiment. It was a good trial and error, but it's too expensive. And more importantly, if we stop meet and confer tomorrow, if we stop meet and confer when the first contract came up, we would automatically save $6 million. $6 million that could go to all these pools we've been talking about. That could go to the equity office. That could go to the schools on the east side that we act like we don't see. That can go to the parks that we act like we don't see on the east side. That can fix the homeless problem that we act like we don't see on 7th and Trinity. So we can literally stop paying cops so much money to kill black and brown and poor people and mentally ill people and actually do something else besides trying to police our way out of public safety. It's so many more options to public safety than just to police. Like Kathy was saying, we don't need police to show up to the scenes of mentally ill cases. We don't need police to show up with truancy cases. We definitely don't need police to show up all the time if it's just a neighborhood altercation with Jack and Jill. Like, people are more capable. There are other options that we can put this money into as opposed to putting it into the pockets of police. And on top of that, even if you look at the meet and confer process when it comes to the fire department, the city, again, is shelling out so much money, and the fire department is not willing to bend and work with the city on that. So the process of meet and confer is something that we honestly think that the city seriously needs to reconsider. And if you want, I can go about how we can get to the $6 million right now. But if not, y'all been here. I've been here since like 8:32, so I'm right here with you. But if not, I can just take a seat.
Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. So we have James Casey here. Is Carrie Roberts here? Hold on one moment, please. Carrie Roberts here? Is Carrie Roberts here? So is Connor Hillard here? Yes, sir. Okay, great. So, Mr. Roberts, you'll have 5 minutes when Mr. Casey's done. Mr. Casey.
So, Mr. Mayor and Council, I was led to understand I could have Sarah Netos here speak with my time, if that's all right with you. The same amount of time.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members.
My name is Sarah Netto, and I am with Undoing White Supremacy Austin. I've lived in Austin for a year and a half now, and I'm in District 4. As an organization dedicated to undoing white supremacy, we support Communities of Color United and their 3 budget allocations for this year, which have been stated previously, but as a reminder, it's to increase funding in the Equity Office in order to provide equity training to staff, develop a community advisory accountability body, hire staff needed to begin applying the equity tool for the city departments, and budget allocations. The second one is to increase funding to Austin Public Health. The third one is to increase funding for low-income housing. And then how would we pay for all this? Freeze the APD budget. White supremacy takes many forms. Today, some forms of white supremacy are seen as more socially acceptable, including inside city budgets. The disproportionate expenditure of 40% of the entire City of Austin operating budget going to APD is a huge piece of the white supremacy system here in Austin. We ask that you abandon the motto that public safety requires more and more militarized policing, make improvements to security and safety by providing proportionally more funding to health equity initiatives, and use an equity lens in this year's budget process to implement the 3 key budget allocations as stated before that Communities of Color United put forth. And that's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Is Sal Valdez here? Sal Valdez? Sal Valdez? Is Hugo Diaz here? Oh, I'm sorry. You'll be on this podium here. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Kerry Roberts, the Executive Director of the Greater Austin Crime Commission. Growing up in West Texas, my grandfather would say someone was whistling past the graveyard when they avoided a difficult decision. And unfortunately, when it comes to public safety, I fear we're doing just that. We're ignoring the community, the recommendations of experts, and the warning signs. In fact, in a recent survey of Austin voters commissioned by my organization, more than 8 in 10, even knowing the cost, said they supported adding more police immediately or over the next 3 or 4 years. And the results were the same in every council district. In District 2, it was 80%. In District 4, 85%. District 5, 84%. District 10, 86%. But despite growth, increased violent crime, and slower response times, public safety spending as a total percentage of the proposed budget will decrease by more than 3%. And the 12 police patrol positions that were added last year remain unfunded. Now, let me repeat that. The 12 police officers you authorized but did not fund last year are not in the budget. And so last summer, in a presentation to you about the latest taxpayer-funded police staffing study, Dr. Richard Brady of the Matrix Group said Austin had the lowest available community engagement or community policing time of any police department they'd ever analyzed. So for a city that supports community policing, we're setting up our police department to fail. And public safety isn't a conservative or a progressive issue, it's a community concern. And so this is a question of priorities, not a lack of revenue. And so we ask that you please fund the 12 positions and implement a police staffing plan that achieves a minimum goal of 35% community engagement time. And that's a goal that's been endorsed by the Austin Neighborhoods Council, the Downtown Austin Alliance, the Greater Austin Crime Commission, the Mayor's Task Force on Institutional Racism and Systemic Inequities, and other community groups and neighborhood leaders. If we look back in future years and find ourselves facing the same predicament with public safety that we have with affordability and mobility, which is too far behind to catch up, we'll remember this as the moment we could have done more and didn't. And I know there's not enough money to do everything, but there's enough money to do the right thing. And so we don't really need any more excuses or any more taxpayer-funded studies. It just takes leadership and political will, and it starts with you. So I ask you, let's not whistle past the graveyard again this year. Please please fund public safety first. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, what is your name?
Sal?
Sal, that's good. Is Hugo Diaz here?
No, not yet.
He's not here. Is Bob Batlin here? You'll be speaking at this podium. Mr. Valdez.
Mayor Adler and council people, I'm here on behalf of Latino Healthcare Forum. I couldn't have said anything more important than the children before you have said today. From the mouth of babes, you hear the truth. They're not inclined to lie. Health equity is one of our most important issues here in Austin. Although our name is Latino Healthcare, we serve everyone. The City Council has seen fit for the past several years to invest in doing outreach, education, and enrollment in an array of healthcare services for the most impoverished, the most needy, and the most underserved of our community. Our work specifically has involved the use of promotoras, or health case workers in the community that's most impoverished and needy. The people we hire are passionate about serving these same people. With the no wrong door policy, our support is to enroll people to get health care access done, whether it's the Affordable Care Act, whether it's Medicare, whether it's CHIP, whether it's some of the free services that the city also supports. A healthy community starts with healthy people. Your efforts have made an investment in the future of these same children that sit behind me. I ask you for your continued support and sensitivity and compassion towards those same people in our own community who are the most underserved and the most needy through the continuations of these type of services aimed at those same populations throughout our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll be leaving you some information.
Thank you. Is Cynthia Valadez here? Cynthia Valadez? Is Alejandra Castaneda here? You'll be speaking at this podium. Mr. Batlin, you have 3 minutes.
Mayor Pro Tem, and council members, I am Bob Batlin representing Austin Interfaith. I saw Mayor Adler's Facebook post showing that Austin is the safest city in Texas. We appreciate our public safety personnel. We also want to thank you for funding measures that create the environment that prevents crime. I will be concentrating on preventative measures today. We're asking you to do more to improve Austin's workforce, help all who do city work afford to live here, support parents and teachers, provide after-school programs for those who need them the most, allow more parks to be used in the evening, and treat those experiencing homelessness with respect. All contribute to the overall quality of life and safety of our city. There's a large unmet need for nurses and IT workers. Capital ID is successful in helping people living in poverty qualify for these jobs and contribute to the tax base. Graduates averaged $11,000 per year before entering the program and average over $40K to start on a lucrative career path. We have increased enrollment and decreased our cost per success over the past 2 years. Unfortunately, many great candidates are not ready for college-level courses. Our College Prep Academy, a 12-week boot camp, gets them prepared. They avoid taking remedial classes, and we avoid the greater expense. Please increase funding for College Prep Academy and additional students enrolling in nursing and IT programs. Paying a true living wage is an elusive aspirational goal. Task Force reported to Council in June of 2015, using 2014 data, that it would take at least $16.83 per hour to meet the objective. A $15 living wage for FY18 would put us on track to minimally achieve the 2014 goal by 2020. Currently, the living wage applies to all workers, permanent, part-time, contracted workers, including construction workers, and temporary. We should not backslide by leaving out temporary workers. That would incent city departments to skirt the intent of the living wage. City investments for parent support specialists and prime time after-school programs has led to better parent-teacher collaboration and helped working parents afford after-school programs for their children. Both lead to better educational outcomes. These must continue. Lighting parks for recreational use is a smart investment. Studies have shown that areas where community parks are lit in the evenings for recreational use, crime rates go down. Please continue the work started last year to provide safe, secure public restrooms for the benefit of those experiencing homelessness. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Raul Castaneda here? Is Raul Castaneda here? Raul?
Alexandra. No, he's not.
No, it's okay. Hang on one second. Is Stuart Hirsch here? You'll be speaking at this podium. You have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Council and Mayor. My name is Alexandra Castaneda. I'm here asking support for the SERI project. The SERI project is in, I think it's in District 3. Well, this is where I live. It began in 1993, and it's an artist program. Serigraphs are like lithographs, but they're a little bit, well, like kind of like prints, but they're better. And this is a project that has been started and continued, and we really, really need the support. Our friend Sam started this many years ago, and he's nationally recognized and internationally programmed. It's very few projects like this are in the country. I think there's one in San Francisco, New York. So Austin is very, very lucky to have this project. We need the project to just continue in Metropolis, to just have a studio to teach children how to just do screen printing, have workshops and things in this area that's very, very underserved. Like the kid said, we need to have the same type of services available all over the city. So we really would appreciate your support and your consideration for this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. David King, you'll speak at this podium. Mr. Hirsch, 3 minutes.
Mayor and members of the council, my name is Stuart Harry Hirsch, and your discussions and work sessions have changed my testimony, so I'm here for two purposes. One is to talk about senior health care. The year after I retired as a city employee, I had a triple bypass, and because your predecessors had a fair sharing of the expenses related to out-of-pocket expenses versus city reimbursement, I'm still standing in front of you, and I'm able to do a 10K and a 5-mile every year with my sons and take up boxing 3 times a week. So I ask you that you invest in seniors. We prefer not to die, even though it might save you money. The second thing I would suggest to you is that your conversation about Austin Code was important. What renters, homeowners, and business people want is you to charge more for the fees for short-term rentals, rooming houses and boarding house, and repeat offenders, and not increase the fees that we pay on our utility bills each month. Those are supposed to be cost of service programs, and if you're making us all pay for something that should be paid for the people who cause the expense, you need to change your fee schedule. In the last century, we used to charge based on bedrooms, because that's really what the cost of service is in those categories. But we got stupid as the century turned into the new millennium, and we started charging flat fees that didn't cover our cost of services, and you keep raising the fees for all of us. And as a former renter, those of us who live in very affordable housing pay the same amount as somebody who lives in a $5 million mansion, which doesn't seem fair on the face of it. So please focus on the code enforcement fees. I want your budget to remain neutral, but the people who are causing the expenses should pay for the fees, not all the rest of us. And please underwrite the health care for those of us who are seniors so that we can live and be affordable to remain in Austin, Texas. Thank you very much.
Thank you. David King is going to be speaking here. Is Dawn Saramartis here? That's PSAR. Saramartis. Is Janie Briesmeister here? You'll be at this podium. You have 3 minutes, Mr. King.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'm not going to use all the time. We heard earlier about community engagement time from APD, and I think that we understand that that's important for our neighborhoods. But, funding for additional APD officers should be contingent upon APD implementing the changes to meet and confer recommended by the Austin Justice Coalition. The budget should be rebalanced so that public safety services consume a lower percentage of the total budget. And I ask that you please fund the initiatives and recommendations from the Spirit of East Austin, the African American Resource Advisory Commission, the Asian American Quality of Life Resource Commission, the Hispanic Latino Quality of Life Resource Commission, and the Mayor's Task Force on Racism and Institutional Inequities. I also ask that you please be deliberate and increase funding for outreach to our East Austin neighborhoods for Code Next. They have been left out of the input. We need to be more deliberate and intentional in including them in this process so their voice will be reflected in the new code that is going to be with us for the next generation. And I hope that you will hear the feedback tonight and make sure that our budget is more equitable. And, you probably have heard about when we talk about making things more equitable, the pie is only so big. So that means that we need to shift spending from one group and give it to another group. It's that simple. Please make our budget more equitable. Thank you.
Thank you. So here we have Jamie Briesmeister. Is Jennifer McPhail here? Jennifer McPhail? What about Albert Metz? Albert Metz. What about John Woodley? John Woodley will be at this podium. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Janie Briesmeister. I'm the chair of the Austin Commission on Seniors, and I'm here requesting your support for the budget recommendations adopted by our commission. The fastest growing age group in Austin are people aged 55 and older. In 2010, seniors made up about 8% of the Austin area population. In 2040, seniors will be nearly 20% of the population. And seniors are among the poorest households in Austin. In the Austin area, seniors have a median household income $11,000 lower than median household income for all families. Last fall, the council amended Imagine Austin and adopted the Age-Friendly Action Plan to help prepare the city for the needs of this fast-growing population of seniors. And while just about everything that city government does touch the lives of seniors, the Commission on Seniors prioritized our recommendations to these. Implement the Age-Friendly Action Plan by designating a staff person as a coordinator, and also by gathering current data on the senior and pre-senior populations to help with city planning. Increased funding for home repair. Much of that program serves seniors, and we believe it addresses both affordability and displacement. Increased funding for health care and social services for seniors, and fund replacement of needed new vehicles for the Parks Department, which provide transportation to seniors, including to congregate meal programs. I'd like to recognize and thank Councilmember Kitchen for including many of these items on the concept menu already, and I request all of your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is Anna DeFreitas here? Anna DeFreitas? Okay. Is Chow No here? Go ahead, Mr. Woodley. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, I'm John Woodley. I'm an advocate for disability access. I just want to be brief. I would like you to polarize and prioritize disability, equity, access, training, and fully funding these in the parks, recreation, transportation, housing, employment, schools, and other departments. Earlier, many of the nonprofits in Austin, like the Austin Tenant Council, they need a lot more money. They can't handle the workload for like housing complaints, civil rights, discrimination issues, homelessness. They don't have enough to handle their current number of complaints. A lot of people get referred to like the Rio Grande Legal Aid, which doesn't get involved unless there's an active eviction in trust. I would like the city to focus on safety and Vision Zero, to get our infrastructure put in place and make them safe and convenient for people to get around. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Woodley. You had some donated time from Chow.
Oh, okay.
No here, but I don't see. So you have.
Oh, to Julianne Niche is who that time should go to?
I have Julianne Niche as the next speaker coming up.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Julianne Niche will be speaking here. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor, members of council, my name is Ana De Freitas, and I'm here to testify in support of 2 recommendations that we made on the Austin Commission for Women. I am a member of the Austin Commission for Women appointed by Pio Renteria in District 3. And this particular recommendation was passed unanimously, and it relates to our ongoing work around prioritizing the needs of sexual assault survivors in our community. This work that I'm about to recommend is an extension of the rape kit backlog efforts that you all invested in last budget cycle. But specifically this time around, we're asking for 2 budget items. First, we're asking for a one-time $50,000 appropriation to fund the training of counselors in the private sector on trauma-informed counseling care. We are anticipating that in exchange for this very particular training that is of particular need to survivors of sexual assault, that those counselors will then agree to take on a certain number of pro bono cases of individuals who have experienced sexual assault. The reason for this is that we've done a lot of great work around ending the backlog. There's been a lot of problems, but also a lot of progress. And in fact, we anticipate that APD is set to clear the backlog in October of 2018. But that means that victims who've been waiting months, years, and sometimes decades for the results of those tests are now being contacted out of the blue, seemingly, from law enforcement. We believe that that can inspire trauma, and that folks should have access to resources in the community if they're contacted with such news. The second item that we'd like to make is in regard to victim services staffing within the Austin Police Department. Before I share this recommendation, I want to emphasize that I'm standing here in solidarity with Communities of Color United and asking that this recommendation be funded through APD's existing budget and be prioritized within their existing budget. Victim Services has, in 2006, lost 10 staff people and has only partially recovered those folks since that time. Right now, it is our understanding that there are only 3 victim services counselors at APD dedicated to working sexual assault cases. That means that the 25 to 30 reported cases of sexual assault in our community have access to only those 3 counselors for updates regarding their case, updates about their DNA tests, updates about what next. These are critical positions within the department that make a big difference in restoring much needed trust with our relationship to law enforcement. I want to thank you for your time and for the opportunity to serve on the commission. It's a real honor to serve this city, which I love so much.
Thank you very much. Julie Nix. Now, Julie, I have 2 people donating you time. One of them, Julie, is Alicia Weigel. Is she here? And then Chris Kaiser. Yes. Okay, now the next speaker, if you'd come on down to the podium, please, is Nakia Winfield. You have 7 minutes. You're the last of the speakers before we have 1 minute each, because you have 3 minutes plus 2 minutes plus 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. My name is Julie Ann Nitch, and I'm speaking in support of the 2 recommendations that she just spoke of. I'm also speaking in support and in solidarity with the Communities of Color United in requesting that this be taken out of APD's existing budget. My personal experience with sexual assault did not begin with APD, and it has not ended with APD. My experience began when I was 3 years old. After years of wondering what happened to the man that abused me, at the age of 15, I asked my mother. Her response still shakes me to the core. Surely he's done it to someone else by now. They always do, and I'm sure he's been caught. I know that her words were meant to comfort me in some manner, but they never have, and they never will. They actually did the opposite. From then on, I would wonder what little girl he was hurting, and I would feel an immense amount of guilt, wishing that I could do something for her. Because the fact is that most rapists, and I mean most as in 90% of them, are repeat offenders. And I need you to understand that going forward. In the summer of 2010 in Austin, Texas, a man pried my back patio door open. He tied the doorknobs of my bathroom and my roommate's bedroom together so that she could hear me scream, but she couldn't help me. She called 911. APD broke down my front door, and they came into my room pointing guns at me. After going downstairs, I was asked where I had been, how much I had drank that night, what I was wearing when I walked home, and why I had walked home. Beyond that, in an extremely accusatory way, the police officers asked me why I lived in such a low-income neighborhood. And then they asked me if I sold drugs. They did not fingerprint anything. They did not even act as though they were investigating a crime scene. They simply took me to the hospital, where I was further humiliated and further violated. I thought I was doing the right thing, and I did a rape kit. I was then told by the officer that they would contact me in 6 to 8 months. I even returned to the station to give a statement where a very large and seemingly uncaring man told me, well, that if I didn't know who it was, there was really nothing much they could do for me. So I waited 6 months, and then I waited 8 months, and now it's been 7 years, and I've never been contacted. I wish I could say that I'm fine and that I've gotten over it. Most people that know me think that I'm a very strong advocate and a very independent person. But that's not the truth. The truth is that I tell people that I'm too cold to go out in the winter, but I'm not. I'm just afraid of the dark. The truth is that you've never seen me at an event at night unless I'm accompanied, because I never leave my house at night. And I haven't since then. I wish I could say that I'm a very unique case, but I'm not. Most women have had an experience similar to mine, and we all hurt in different ways. For me, I lie awake thinking, and I often run home before the sun sets, afraid, because I know he's doing it to someone else right now. And I know that because statistically he is. I urge you to take this very small step to help women that have reported these crimes. And I'd like you to take into account that most women don't report, and that if it happened to me, I wouldn't report it again. So please take this very small step. And please hold APD accountable for all the rape kits that come back as repeat offenders. And according to most of the research I've done, a very large portion of them will. Please allow us to have some healing and allow women to have some sort of resources when this happens, so that one day, hopefully, we'll see justice, but at least we can begin to heal. Thank you.
So Nakia Winfield, you have 1 minute. And then Kristen Lanau, you'll have 1 minute when Ms. Winfield is done.
Good evening. My name is Nakia Winfield. I am the Mental Health Policy Fellow for the National Association of Social Workers Texas chapter. I am here to support the amendment that both of those ladies were just speaking of for the reasons that Kristen was speaking of them. I am also here in solidarity with Communities of Color United and support all of the recommendations that they've made, as well as the ones from AJC. Texas has an inadequate mental health workforce. Austin does as well. Most people, when they think of PTSD, they think of veterans. However, the largest population in the U.S. with PTSD are sexual assault survivors. And when they are notified by APD that their test has actually been completed, again, decades after they've actually submitted it, those people are triggered. It causes a lot of disruption in their lives, as in the lives of their employers, and the lives of their families. And in order to help avoid that and to prevent that, we would like to have that $50,000 one-time grant to be able, oh my God.
Finish your thought.
To be able to train nonprofit as well as private practitioners in trauma training. Thank you.
Thank you. After Kristen Linnell on this side, then Preston Tyree. Comes Preston Tyree here? You'll be at this podium, please.
Hi.
1 minute.
My name is Kristen Linnell. I live in District 5. I'm here to speak in support of both of the amendments that the Commission for Women put forth. I work as a sexual assault advocate, and I see the impact that the violence has on people firsthand. Counseling is the most frequently requested resource that we see, and most people can't afford to pay a private therapist, and they certainly can't afford to get sessions beyond what a low or no-cost provider can give them. So I'm asking you to support that one-time training in exchange for therapists in our community to see survivors pro bono. I'm also here to speak in support of victim services. They are with people in their darkest hours, emotionally and logistically, providing transportation, housing referrals, mental health needs, and safety. And so we feel that they are a critical component to this as well. I want to say that I do stand in solidarity with CCU in asking that these resources be prioritized within existing budgets.
Thank you very much. Sally Balch.
Thank you.
Is Sally Balch here? You'll be at this podium. Sir, you have 1 minute.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. My name is Preston Tyree. I'm a resident of District 9. I'm a 30-year resident of Austin. I recently completed the Citizens Police Academy and a member of the Public Safety Commission. I am here tonight to talk as a private citizen and not in my role as a commissioner. I want to talk about one number, the number 13, and one term, community engagement. Community engagement is a time an officer has to interact with members of the community without being on a call. This is a time that allows officers to become a member of the community and not always be in the role of the enforcer. Now let's talk about the number. Community engagement time throughout the Austin area is 22% or less than 2 hours per shift. The national average is 35 to 50. That's a 13% differential from the minimum level. That is a difference of more than 1 full hour per shift. We've had 2 studies that say we should reach that 35. The Mayor's Task Force on Institutional Racism and Systematic Inequalities called for APD to reach that. Please work to get the funding for the officers we need in the budget.
Thank you, sir. Colin Wallace, you'll speak next, and you have time donated by John Rooney. Mr. Rooney's here, okay? You have 1 minute, and then Mr. Wallace, you'll have 2 minutes.
All right. My name is Sally Balch, and I adopted my neighborhood park, Joslyn Park, in District 5. Thanks to city staff, I learned that I could help my neighborhood park through park adoption and by becoming a habitat steward. Go Austin, Vamos Austin brought park adopters together in 78744 and 45 to amplify our voices. And thanks to working with the Austin Parks Foundation, we have fundraised for many of our park improvements, from building benches for tennis courts to installing outdoor fitness equipment. We want to thank the City Council for helping make our parks safer this year with funding for improved security lighting, but volunteers can only do so much. I ask you as a taxpayer to fund the Austin Parks and Recreation Department so that every neighborhood has a welcoming park and every resident has access to a pool or swimming hole. I support the $5 million request submitted by Austin Parks Foundation and other Austin Park stakeholder groups. These investments are critical to keeping our city fit. I also ask you to consider a bond election to bring functioning and fun pools to underserved areas of Austin. Because of how it's funded, thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Wallace, 2 minutes.
Mayor Pro Tem, Council, thank you for the time to address you tonight. I'm going to cut to the chase. Austin ranks number 46 out of the top 100 cities when it comes to our parks. We are not doing a great job. We spend about half of what the top 10 cities in the country spend. Our Parks Department has about $700 million worth of repairs just to get our parks up to where they need to be. I know this is a challenging budget year, but the budget simulator that y'all put out into the field overwhelmingly said our citizens in all of your district rank parks as one of the most important things to invest in. So we are asking you to prioritize your investment in our parks this year. We're joined by our partners in the community, as well as other Austin stakeholders, the Trail Foundation, the Shoal Creek Conservancy, the Peace Park Conservancy, Tree Folks, the Umlauf Sculpture Garden, Barton Springs Conservancy, Hill Country Conservancy, Waller Creek Conservancy, and many others in asking you to prioritize investing $5 million into our parks. It's for things, lots of things you've heard about tonight. Maintenance funding for pools. I won't beat the pools horse anymore. For money for staff to conduct safety and maintenance. $1 million for the estimated $140 million just to bring our parks up to ADA compliance. These aren't bells and whistles. These are essentials. So we respectfully ask you to please make this investment. The Parks Foundation, along with our other partners, have been doing this work for many, many years, and we will continue to do our part. We're simply asking you to do the same. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Is Franny Sanchez here? Okay, you'll be up at that. You have a minute. And is Lisa Sledge here? Lisa Sledge, you'll be at the other podium. Please.
Hi, I'm Franny Sanchez. I want to start by thanking the mayor and council for your time and recognizing our local council person, Leslie Poole. We've enjoyed the benefit of having an advocate for our green spaces. I was born and raised in Austin, and I now take my son and daughter to the exact same parks that I played on as a child. Sometimes they look exactly the same. After my daughter was born, it was hard to even visit the playground because I couldn't chase my toddler over uneven surfaces with the baby strapped to my chest. My group of mothers decided to contact the Parks and Rec department, and I found out that there is a $700 million list of backlog projects and nowhere near the budget to fund these. Our Gracie Woods Park is on this list. I'm talking to the people who ensure our playground is safe for our children, and they're saying, we know this park is in bad shape. We need to get this park up to ADA standards, but we don't have the budget. I'm asking the council to please consider the children and the parents spending time at these failing parks, many of whom live in apartments and their access to green space is limited. I ask you to support the proposal to increase the Parks and Rec Department budget by $5 million as outlined by APF. Please support the magic that happens at these parks.
Thank you. Is Cynthia Rodriguez here? Cynthia Rodriguez, you'll be at this podium. And you have donated time from Carmen Pulido. Okay, you have 1 minute.
Yes, my name is Lisa Sledge, and my son Bucky attends the Macbeth Recreation Center every day, and I'm president of the Friends of Macbeth. The Macbeth Recreation Center provides programs specifically designed for people with special needs. They have a year-round adult program that serves 32 adults ages 22 and up with a wait list of 30. Macbeth also offers 3 summer camp programs, all with large wait lists. They offer 9 Special Olympic sports. Our sports programs serve 200 individual athletes 8 years and older. One reason I loved this program for my son is that there were 4 recreation therapists on staff that plan activities that keep the adults moving and engaged. They have rowing, rock climbing, hiking, cardio crazy, arts and crafts, kitchen classes, and go on field trips throughout Austin. All of these activities have been adapted to fit each individual person with special needs.
Thank you. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem?
I wanted to ask, I wasn't sure if you had a specific request that you didn't have a chance to get to. So I just wanted to invite you back up to finish your comments on that front.
Well, our building at Macbeth, it was built in the 1950s era, and it's constantly in need of updating. We have a ramp that is on our grounds that is not ADA accessible, and it's too expensive to repair. We have a door to our annex building that should be a sliding storefront door, but we just don't have the funds to repair it. Macbeth would like to increase programming and staff, but our budget restraints, we are unable. We have a need for supplies, adaptive technology, and many other items. These are just a few of our needs, and I'm asking you to support the proposal to increase the Parks and Recreation Department's budget by $5 million as outlined by the Austin Parks Foundation and Park Advocates. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay, and before you start, we have Ryan Nill. Is Ryan here? Ryan? You'll be up next on this other podium. You have,
so I will be, I'll be donating my time to present a video by Annie Harton, who's a park adopter from the Onion Creek Greenbelt Park in District 2. So it's a 3-minute video, so we're going to start it at the 1 minute.
Okay, thank you.
We worked very hard during camp, which Councilmember Barker attended, became the fourth for council. Also, Senator Howard came to the cleanup action. We had 178 the first team. And the places and to the northeast is also here at the Austin Dog Park, the dogs and animals can play and then go on to the street to play. To the northeast side of trail was Pilot and Paul to Memorial Drive. Designed with their Councilmember participated in one event. The Memorial Drive is commemorated 7 miles in 2014. Check here on a daily basis represents the importance of our community to provide an opportunity for exercise and physical activity and work. This is why I support additional funding for parks, especially in these places.
Is Rhonda Rutledge here? Okay, then Ryan Nell is up next, and I have some donated time from Laura Avang and from Robert Burns. Is Robert Burns here? No. You have 2 minutes.
I'd actually like to give my time to Hannah Frankel, who probably won't be able to testify when she's called, so let her go.
Okay. And your name is?
Hannah Frankel.
Okay.
Oh, good evening. Thank you for listening to me tonight. So I am a member of the Economic Prosperity Commission, though I'm speaking for myself tonight. I also serve on the Joint Sustainability Committee. What I'm here to speak to you tonight about is the recommendation from the Economic Prosperity Commission that we invest up to $80,000 for a request for proposals to research and provide development services and strategic planning services to cooperative housing. I have lived in cooperative housing for 10 years, and I have seen the benefits it provides to me and my community. I'm also a licensed clinical social worker, and I have seen the benefits it provides to the members of my community from that lens also. The RFP that we're seeking is in lens of, in light that the City of Austin is committed to the construction of 135,000 new housing units in the next 10 years. Cooperative housing is tenant-managed housing. It can exist as apartment complexes, which the one I live in now functions as. It's typically available at 50 to 70% of prevailing market rates. The apartment complex, La Reunion Cooperative Apartments that I live at, is affordable to people earning 25% or less of median family income. We work with Section 8, Caritas, veterans programs, Front Step, several other local nonprofits to prioritize admission for their folks. we're very proud of what we've got, and we've done the preliminary research to support the social benefit and the immense return on investment of cooperative housing as far as affordable housing dollars. We have been able to create affordable units at La Reunion for $27,000 per bed. That's affordable to 25% less MFI in perpetuity. If I can finish my sentence.
Yes.
By way of comparison, one of the permanent supportive housing budget items in this year's budget, which I think is amazing and is serving different folks, so I'm not knocking that, but that is identifies $27,000 per year for households to provide affordable housing, which again is something that we're able to do for our affordable housing clients in perpetuity. So we have a wonderful model. We'd like to see it scaled. We'd like to see the city give to other people the benefits we've enjoyed.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is Christina Brown here? Christina Brown? Yes, come on down.
Mayor?
Yes.
Well, the group, thank you so much, those of you who are just spoke about co-ops. I think several of you are aware, but I just wanted to thank you for the recommendation that the Economic Prosperity Commission forwarded, and to let you know, if you weren't here this morning, that the council did pass the resolution regarding the funding, how co-op housing developments would be treated within the funding mechanism at the city. So thank you all for your work on that issue.
And donating time to Christina Brown was Brian McGivern. Is Brian here? Thank you. And Matt Wallace. Matt Wallace here? Okay. So you'll have 3 minutes when you speak, ma'am.
Mayor Adler and City Council members, I'm Rhonda Rutledge. I'm the Executive Director of Sustainable Food Center and serve as the Chair of One Voice Central Texas. One Voice is a coalition of 100 nonprofit human service agencies working to make sure that everyone in our community can reach their full potential and contribute to the community. We are a critical part of the community's public safety. Our members work closely with public safety officials, and we understand the critical role that they play in our community. We'd like you to consider public safety in a broader context and understand the role that our members play in addressing public safety and reducing costs to the more expensive parts of the system. For example, last year APD took close to 12,000 calls related to mental illness and conducted more than 5,500 emergency detentions. That's up from 10,000 calls and around 5,200 detentions the year before. Early intervention and effective mental health treatment can reduce these calls. As you make these critical decisions around this budget, we ask that you consider that your social service sector,
you can finish your thought,
when appropriately resourced, can help make our community safer, address income inequality, and provide a foundation for individuals to reach their full potential. The City Council adopted resolutions and made a formal goal of investing $11.9 million in additional funding for social service contracts over the next 2 to 4 years. We're asking you to honor your commitment. Thank you so much.
Thank you. After Ms. Brown speaks, Highway Salovitz, I don't see. Francis Phillips, Mark McKim. Mark McKim, you'll be up next. Ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Christina Brown, and I'm speaking on behalf of Counterbalance ATX and myself. I live in District 3. Thank you, Council, for your time. Today, Counterbalance stands united with all the organizations that will speak tonight and the various stakeholders in each district within the city in our request to end the meet and confer process that is currently draining the city's needed resources. The meet and confer process was created as an experimental opportunity to create a better system of accountability and transparency than the previous system created by the state law. That opportunity has come and gone. The citizens' oversight that was the original intention of this process has not been achieved and has enabled our police to become the highest paid in the state. Austin was named one of only 6 of the nation's largest 100 cities to fail on all 6 police accountability metrics of Campaign Zero. Austin is spending 68% of its discretionary budget on public safety. $17 million of this year's $59 million planned budget increase is already allocated for police. Just this morning, another lawsuit against APD was announced involving a young man, Matthew Wallace, who was brutalized in a video that went viral for simply jaywalking. This event is yet another example of police misconduct that has to be handled in the courtroom because there is no effective internal systems for police accountability and transparency. This behavior is the inevitable result of the current APD contract. The only option is to achieve real reform by ending the meet and confer process to free up the preliminary analysis of about $6 million, which has already been discussed tonight, and is currently locked up in the ineffective process in which places alternatives that are arguably more effective for public safety. My question to this council is, at what point as a community will we stop footing the bill for a broken process and step up to fix the obvious systems level failures that we are now experiencing?
Is Sharon Blythe here? Sharon Blythe? I'm sorry, Sharon Blythe? After Sharon Blythe, Keith Lofton? Keith Lofton here? What about João Paulo Conley? You'll be at this podium. You have a minute.
Hello, Mayor and Council. My name is Mark McKim, and I'm with Undoing White Supremacy Austin, and I live in District 1. As you've heard tonight, and you already know, budgets are moral documents, and you as a council have the responsibility to use the city's money wisely to address the most marginalized populations. I stand with Communities of Color United and their recommendations to apply the equity lens that you've developed in this budgetary process development and in CONEXT and in any other city business. Specifically, we'd also like to see an increase in funding to the Equity Office in order to provide equity training to city staff, develop a community advisory accountability body, and hire staff needed to begin to applying the equity tool for the city departments and budget allocations. And also an increase in funding to Austin Public Health to increase the capacity of the health equity initiatives, and an increase in funding for low-income housing, and as we've heard tonight, also cooperative housing. How can we do this? Well, if we freeze the APD budget, we can do a whole lot among all the things that people have said tonight. So please invest in true public safety, which is the social services, parks, equity, lands, etc. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is Chris Harris here? Chris Harris? Okay. And Mr. Harris, have you donated time from Latosha Taylor? Is Latosha Taylor here? What about Giovanni Franklin? Okay, you'll have 2 minutes, sir. You can begin. 1 minute.
Good evening. My name is João Paulo. I live in District 4. I'm here with the Austin Justice Coalition, and I'm going to be brief. I just want to add my voice to Kathy and to everyone else that spoke about not renewing Meet and Confer. Basically, we can't talk about meeting community engagement goals or anything like that without also talking about a problem of trust. And that's what I want to talk about here today, is just that we can't, trust isn't something that you can just walk in and demand from people. You have to build trust over time. And right now, our feedback mechanisms are completely broken. There aren't effective feedback mechanisms by which the community can complain about police officers' malpractice, police officers' unethical behavior. And so by acting as a sort of shield that protects unethical or poor police behavior, the meet and confer process actually gets in the way of building increased trust between police officers and the community. So I would just like to ask that we end meet and confer. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Holly Kirby here? You'll be up here. You'll have 1 minute. Mr. Harris, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I'm in a coalition of organizations that have attempted to insert community priorities into the next police contract. We came forward with 8 reforms to the contract that we felt would provide a bare minimum of accountability, transparency, and oversight that people deserve from their police force. Based on what we've seen of these negotiations, we've got 1 of the 8. The entire point of Meet and Confer was to get more accountability and oversight, and since we don't have it and we won't get it through Meet and Confer, why not take the $6 million that we would get from ending it and reallocating it to all these other great causes that will actually help public safety even more than just more boots on the ground? In addition, to being unaccountable, opaque, and untouchable to the community, there's also a good deal of evidence that the police are poorly deployed at best. I'm completing a report examining the booking at Travis County on behalf of Just Liberty. And council will receive a full write-up next week, but the preliminary numbers show that from October 2014 to November of 2016, over 17% of bookings into the county jail attributed to APD were discretionary, consisting purely of Class C misdemeanor and cite and release eligible offenses. If this is what our police are focusing on, 17% of arrests are on these minor offenses. Why do we need them, or why are they doing that? We need our police focused on other things, and if they don't need to be doing other things, we need to be putting that money towards other more important services.
Thank you very much. So after Holly Kirby, the next speaker we have is Jonathan Davis. Is Jonathan Davis here? Jonathan Davis. What about Mimi Stiles? Jonathan Davis? Okay. Jonathan Davis will be at this podium here. Ms. Kirby, you have 1 minute.
Thanks. Good evening. My name is Holly Kirby. I'm representing Grassroots Leadership. The city could save more money, better serve our communities by ensuring that APD stop unnecessary arrests. To reiterate what Chris Harris was saying, as much as 17% over a 2-year period of all APD arrests were for exclusively non-jailable Class C misdemeanors and cite and release eligible offenses, meaning they were completely discretionary. And of those discretionary arrests, a third of them were black people. This data is crucial in that it just further demonstrates the pattern of racist criminal justice outcomes in our city that must be addressed. We should implement policies that ensure that officers are not making unnecessary arrests. Specifically, we should ban arrests for non-jailable offenses. We should stop arresting people for offenses that under state law could just be given a citation for. We know that jail time, however brief, can have devastating impacts on people and their families. We should be limiting criminal justice involvement whenever possible. I strongly urge the city and APD to assess how much of our resources are being wasted on unnecessary arrests. So many others tonight, particularly Communities of Color United, have stated here that there are far better and critically needed ways to allocate our funds.
Thank you very much. Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis, you'll be next, and then Mimi Stiles after Jonathan Davis.
We're going to be switching places, if that's okay.
That's fine.
All right.
Ms. Stiles, you can go first. You have 1 minute, and then Mr. Davis.
Good evening, Council. I'm the president of Measure. Measure is an Austin-based nonprofit that works on behalf of underserved communities. In our work with the Austin Police Department for the last couple of years, I've found that while both police and community want the same things, right? Safety and respect. But in most cases in which we communicate, the effectiveness of these things becomes lost in translation. Now, for this reason, what is measured actually does matter. That said, performance goals for the Austin Police Department do not meet the community policing standards that organizations like mine and several others here have been fighting for. In June, my team delivered a brief at the request of Austin Police Department, which included an assessment and performance measure recommendations using the Matrix report and the President's Task Force in 21st Century Policing. This week, we also created a report to give to you all today. Traditional and current measures captured.
Wait a second. Do you have time donated to you from Roy Woody? Is Roy Woody here?
Oh, I think he might have just left.
You can finish your thought.
Awesome. So traditional measures that are now captured in the current budget and the proposed budget do not meet the community policing objectives, what we're looking for. Instead, these are, we're measuring arrests or measuring, crime and keeping our police officers basically occupied, whereas they could be actually working on some of these initiatives that we've been working so hard for. I'm concerned that given the city's budget priorities and the current national priorities, community policing and our work towards a more data-driven, evidence-based 21st century police department is going to become a shrinking priority.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Carmen, I think we just had a moment ago. Monica Guzman, you'll be at this podium. Mr. Davis.
All right, my name is Jonathan Davis. I'm the Vice President for Measure, along with Mimi here. And I just wanted to quickly bring to attention a point in regards to the budget. One thing that I think we lose focus on in terms of the budget, whether it's more or less money that we're allocating to a particular department, is what the performance measure and management goals are for wherever that money is being allocated. Mayor Adler, back on May 13th, you provided a request in terms of what the performance measures are for the police department. You'll see in your sheets, it's violent crime, property crime, response time, sworn personnel, traffic fatalities. And so for the police department, what that means, if they are meeting those goals, they are therefore successful. But what it doesn't take into account, for example, is reduction in overall use of force, reduction in critical incidents against unarmed individuals. It doesn't take into account the number of citizen complaints against officers, police brutality, misconduct. It doesn't take into account suspensions, nor does it take into account the gender, race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, and therefore, however Austin Police Department is acting and is performing, it will be deemed successful regardless of those factors.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is Abraham Walter here? That was Abraham Walter? What about Freddie Gonzalez? What about Madeline Hillsmith? I think you have time, Madeline Hillsmith? And then I think that you'll be up next. You have time donated by Taylor Quigley. Is Taylor Quigley here? No? What about Gatlin Johnson? Okay, so you'll have 2 minutes when you turn. Ms. Guzman.
Thank you. While I wear many hats, tonight I stand here as a District 4 Eastern Crescent resident and member of the Equity Action Team. As you work through the city budget, I ask you to do so in an equitable manner. Invest equitably in departments, initiatives, and projects addressing existing inequities and the social determinants of health for Eastern Crescent residents. Examples include Access to Healthy Food Initiative, increased availability of and access to parkland and green space, housing affordability, especially for the homeless, and those who are at or below 60% MFI, and holding slumlords accountable. When the city invests in the most vulnerable, everyone benefits. Thank you.
Thank you. I think you have 2 minutes, Ms. Hillsmith, and then is Carol Lilly here? Carol Lilly? What about Teddy Garber? Mr. Garber? You'll be at this next podium. Ms. Hillsmith.
Thank you for your time tonight, council members. My name is Madeline Hillsmith. I'm on the board of directors of the Austin Cooperative Business Association. I'm here tonight to ask that the recommendation put before you by Ms. Frankel be included in the upcoming fiscal year's budget. We saw resolutions passed this morning directing the city to break down several barriers to cooperative housing development. In light of our clear and present affordability crisis, it is vital that this not become an unfunded mandate. An investment in co-ops is an investment in a proven affordability option. Financing and zoning stand as some of the largest barriers to development of new cooperatives, and we ask that the city make an affirmative effort to have an informed understanding of our model. I believe that the rewards of this research greatly outstrip the investment. We at the ACBA believe that the city stand in solidarity with the Austin Justice Coalition and Community of Colors United, and ask for an end to meet and confer, as well as a freeze on the APD budget. In order for the city to affirm a commitment to affordable housing and breaking down inequalities across Austin, allowing all Austinites a chance to live in dignity. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Karen Mesch here? Okay. And I think you have time donated to you by Celeste Epstein. Is Celeste here? Okay, you'll have 1 minute when you speak. You have 1 minute, sir.
Thank you. I would just like to emphasize that I think that all 8 points that were raised in terms of police accountability should be adopted. And since that it appears that only one of them has been adopted, that I would like to see an end of meet and confer and to use the millions of dollars more efficiently, because as other people have mentioned, that we can do more for public safety than just continue to fund a department that won't take the recommendations. So I'll just urge you to consider all 8 recommendations seriously. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Victoria Hendricks here? Has Victoria Hendricks? No? Is Joey Gidseg here? Shidseg? Yes? And then I think you have some donated time from Amanda Weems. Is Amanda Weems there? No? Is Martha Chang here? Okay, you'll have 2 minutes. And you have 1 minute, I think.
My name is Karen Meschke. I'm a lifelong resident of Austin, and I do not want to move. I am representing both Boomers Collaborative, a group of baby boomers who wish to age in place in a cooperative community, and an Armadillo Co-Housing, a multi-generational group who wish to create a co-housing community. Both groups are members of the Austin Cooperative Business Association. We encourage the council to support the EPC recommendation number to include it in the City of Austin's budget concept menu. Let's build community with sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is Bob Hendricks here? Bob Hendricks? No? Is Lauren Ortal? Okay. And I think you have donated time from Rob Brill. Is Rob Brill here? No? Is Angela Benavides Garza here? No? Okay. You have 1 minute.
Yes, sir.
You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Joey, and I'm here with the Austin Justice Coalition and Left Up to Us. And I have something pretty simple thing to tell you. So I imagine that some of you have children, and I'm sure that they're angels. But I want you to just picture in your minds that one day you get a call from their teacher, and the teacher's like, little Johnny was throwing rocks at recess, and he knocked kids down, and he made them cry, and he laughed. So, I mean, I'm sure you're thinking, oh my gosh, Johnny, that's my baby. How could he do that? What should I do? And so, I'd like to say that whatever you do, it would be more than the Austin Police Department currently does to hold their officers accountable for their actions. No accountability equals no reason to change, because why should they care? Our police force must be held accountable for their harmful actions to the community, and so I urge you to adopt all 8 community recommendations or let the police contract expire. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Who am I with here now? Cassandra Champion here? She had to go home. Okay. What about Richard Franklin? Is he here? Richard Franklin? I don't see him. Elizabeth Avang? Elizabeth Avang? Okay. And you have time donated to from Flora Lang? Is Flora here? No? You'll have 1 minute. Proceed.
Good evening. I would like to share why I also want to support the elimination of meet and confer. Within the last 14 months, at least 2 young men of color have been shot and killed by APD in my neighborhood alone. They were each experiencing a mental health crisis, which prompted the 911 calls, and this led to their deaths at the hands of our peacekeepers. I have had to warn neighbors and friends multiple times about the dangers of calling 911 when someone is unstable or when the person involved has dark skin. This is not how our city should be operating. Citizens living in fear of those who are paid to protect them causes a detrimental lack of trust and will ultimately lead to more violence and crime in Austin. Austin has the opportunity to create greater transparency and accountability for our officers, so we can all work together for safety and security in our neighborhoods. We need to see better before more, which means implementing all 8 of the community recommendations. Otherwise, eliminating meet and confer is our only other option. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Is David Pinkham here? David Pinkham? No? Is George Kofer here? Go home. Is Candace Ayler here? What about Beverly Lazar? Okay. Why don't you come on down? You'll be at this. Who are you, please? Sorry? Candace. Okay, I'm sorry. Candace Ayler. You have donated time from two people. Ben Weatherman, is Ben here? Thank you. And is Michael Nachbar here? You'll have 3 minutes when your time comes. You have 1 minute.
Hello, my name is Beth Aving, and I live at Rosewood Co-op in District 1. We want to thank you for passing the resolution this morning, setting goals to integrate co-ops into Austin's housing landscape. But because co-op ownership structure remains a new concept for many people, we are requesting a study to work in tandem with this resolution to investigate how to most effectively incorporate co-ops into existing affordable housing programs, looking at cities that have successfully done so around the country. We have seen that our co-ops have cost 40 to 70% of surrounding property rates, and although this has solved our own affordable housing situation, we are passionate enough about all the benefits they provide to stand here and try to pave the path for more folks to have this dignified, affordable way of living. In my 7 years in co-ops, my housemates and I have benefited greatly financially in our health by pooling money to buy fresher food and share home-cooked meals. We have saved time, we have helped the environment by sharing utilities, and we've experienced personal growth through leadership positions and interpersonal development. And we can also greatly address racial and socioeconomic inequalities through co-op's allowance of having people live more centrally and in neighborhoods that are increasingly becoming gentrified. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is Beverly Lazar here? So then you'll be down here next. You'll have 1 minute, and you have 3 minutes. Ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor Adler, and thank you, Council. My name is Candace Ayler. I am a nurse and a mother in the community. I'm also the mental health policy lead with Austin Justice Coalition. I work with Measure, and I was on the mayor's task force for undoing institutional racism and systemic inequity. Last year, AJC brought to y'all the proposal to hold off on getting more police officers until some work was done with the community. That better before more didn't work. That work has not been done with the police department. Now, AJC has proposed 8 items that we now would like to see put forward. But if those items are not accepted, as others have said, we strongly urge to end, meet, and confer. Now, I have worked as a nurse in the mental health system. I have worked at Kerrville State Hospital. I have family members that have struggled with mental health issues, and I am very familiar with how this works in the community. After David Joseph's death, I asked to be involved in ATCIC, and I worked on their Planning and Network Action Committee, trying to figure out how they were working with APD. There was, over the last year, no report given to us on how they were working with APD. So this is what I know. What we're doing right now is not working. I know that the people that are going to PES are not getting the help that they need. They don't have the providers that they need. And now we have the Herman Center, and I'm excited about that. I hope that it works. But right now, I don't have a whole lot of confidence. We're currently criminalizing crisis, and it's not working. So I'd like to try to think outside the box. On the task force, the recommendation that I made was to make Austin a trauma-informed city. And I would highly urge that through freeing up funds or through the money that is additional money that is received from the city to the city with SB 292 from the state legislature, that's invested either in the Herman Center or building this trauma-informed city initiative. My proposal was to create the Office of Resilience in Austin Public Health, and I think that this would be an excellent starting point to build a true transformation of many of the things that people have presented to you today. On a personal note, I think there could also be some investment in removing and replacing all of the references to the representation of the Confederacy in the city. And on a much more personal note, I want to thank Julie Neach tonight. without having the time or being able to or wanting to go into the details. We don't just need rape kits analyzed. We need a compassionate police force that cares about people and women that are assaulted in the city. I personally have at least 2 friends who have been assaulted in the city. One of them lost her life. She was a special education teacher. She was a colonel, captain in the Army, and she was also a police officer in Killeen at one point. She was an amazing, beautiful person, and APD failed her, and she took her own life with her own weapon 2.5 years ago. And I just really urge y'all to seriously consider the recommendations that came from Julie and the group that she represented. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Drew De Los Santo here? There is Drew De Los Santo. Drew, okay. And then I have donated time from Susan Lippman. Is Susan here? No, you'll have 1 minute then. You have 1 minute.
Mayor, council members, my name is Beverly Lazar, and 1 minute is not very much time, but I would like to echo everything that was said by Chaz Moore and Joey Gitzig and Kathy about not renewing the meet and confer, and I urge you to adopt and consider all 8 recommendations. I'm here to support the Austin Justice Coalition. I last spoke at this city council around 2010 after the police killed Nathaniel Sanders, an African-American teenager. I spoke then about the need for more training, and specifically training in de-escalating thorny situations. I next spoke at the Carver Museum at an event which I felt was just a sham. It was supposed to bring the community and law enforcement together, and it was just a venue for law enforcement to say how great they are and what they're going to do in the future. And all I can say to APD is shame on you.
Thank you. Is Alexa Johnson here? Alexa Johnson? You'll be up next, and you'll have 1 minute.
Thank you.
Ms. De Los Santo.
Thank you, Council. I'm here supporting the Austin Cooperative Business Association and as a lifelong Austinite. I grew up in District 8. I live in District 1 now. 2017 it's such an important year, and it's important to have a proactive budget. We have to be bold and to create equity and positive progressive change. Reconciling our racist segregated past requires bold action. But boldness does not mean risky. It means being proactive, creative, challenging yourself, and challenging ourselves. Please continue to invest in education for cooperative housing, and it's sustainable, affordable, builds community, all things that will strengthen Austin for generations. And for generations to come. And I also support the 8 points put forth by the Austin Justice Coalition and the Communities of Color United. The only way we can make a strong progressive budget happen is by freezing the APD budget or letting the contract end.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alexa Johnson. Is Elizabeth Scott here? Elizabeth Scott? You'll be up at this other podium. Go ahead.
I would like to voice my support for allocating significant portions of funding to provide affordable housing for low-income families. As a social worker in East Austin, I have watched our families forced out of their homes, away from their businesses, schools, friends, social services, and history. We must have housing that families can afford, or our enrollment will continue to plummet, and our families will continue to be displaced, and our city will continue to fracture under the weight of capitalism and gentrification. I would also like to ask that we set aside more money to study cooperative housing movement in Austin, which I've been a part of for the last 4 years. Without my co-op's low cost of living, less than 40% of the rate of apartments on the east side, I wouldn't be able to live in my community and serve my students. I wouldn't have been able to go back home to Pennsylvania when my mother was sick. Beyond affordability, living in a co-op provided me with emotional support, community, and a new value system. It taught me more about equity, cooperation, and active citizenship. If our city is to thrive and support citizens, we must provide affordable housing for our families and the creation of housing cooperatives.
Thank you very much. Is Daniela Nunez here? You'll be at this podium, please. Come on down. You have 1 minute.
Yes, I'm Glenn Scott. I'm representing Left Up to Us and Democratic Socialists of Austin. Good evening. I live in District 1. And we are supporting both organizations, the Austin Justice Coalition's 8-point plan for police accountability. We're saying no more victims of officer-involved shootings, no more police brutalizing people of color or LGBT people in our community. It's time to say not one more victim. You all have expressed concern in the past, even outrage in some cases, about the excessive use of violence in our community by police officers. But the problem is there's no consequence. The problem is there's no accountability. You've heard from many others here. The time for accountability is now. The 8-point plan proposed by AJC is a well thought out, very fair plan to provide accountability. The fact that this is not being addressed in the negotiations process with the APA and the city is a tragedy and a very strong, horrible missed opportunity. We are asking you to oppose the $6 million increase in the budget and to support the 8-point plan's fully adoption to have police accountability, not one more life lost.
Thank you. Is Mariska Shuto here? That was Mariska Shuto? No? What about Debbie Russell? There. He'll be up next with 1 minute. Please.
Hi, my name is Daniela Nunez, and I'm the District 4 Commissioner on the Public Safety Commission. I'm president of the Georgian Acres Neighborhood Association. Today I'm speaking on behalf of myself. I'm here to state that the city should provide more funding for social services and not spend more money on police. In my neighborhood, which is covered by the Restore Runberg initiative, APD officers have told me you cannot arrest your way out of homelessness, drug addiction, or sex work. I agree with that statement, and I believe that instead of more cops, we need more social workers and health professionals that are equipped to help people with mental health needs, addiction, and trauma. In addition, I support the request of the Survivor Justice Project in asking that you ensure that victim services are adequately staffed to meet the needs of victims of sexual assault. At the May 2017 Public Safety Commission meeting, I was shocked to learn that APD only had 3 counselors permanently assigned to sex crimes. That is woefully inadequate for the victims who report sexual assault. APD's existing budget should prioritize additional victim services personnel. In closing, please prioritize funding for social services instead of spending more on police. Police are often called upon to address complaints that don't have a police solution. We should use this budget cycle as an opportunity to address the needs of our community members who need housing and health care rather than put them at risk of further displacement by arresting them.
Thank you very much. Is Naomi Usaka here? That was Naomi Usaka. What about Kristen Escamilla? No? What about Mike Canati? You'll have 1 minute in a second. Ms. Rosalind.
1 minute. Most of these proposals being brought before you today are considered best practices, are long overdue, and serve to save money, especially ending meet and confer. APD's budget is unnecessarily inflated compared to other cities in the nation. We dedicate 11% of our entire city budget to APD. San Antonio dedicates 5.3%. We've been on an uber-accelerated track to increase APD's budget and staffing over the past 2 decades, despite the decrease in crime given population growth, and despite studies that show there is no correlation between spending on police and crime. Since 2008, we've increased APD's budget 60%, where our population increased 19%. And while the already strapped AFD and EMS budgets remain stagnant. A freeze or decrease now will just scratch at the surface of starting to right this wrong. When it comes to public safety, when you meet social service needs at pennies on the dollar, you decrease the need for expensive, punitive, and regressive measures. It's time to be smart on crime. No accountability, no money. Look at my email. There's no response to resistance report for 2016 up. We see more Hispanics being profiled last year, same amount of blacks, and we don't have the disclosure policy we need on body cams that when they're sold to us as a tool of accountability.
Thank you. Is Elizabeth Scott here? Elizabeth Scott? No? She just talked. Elena Leon? Elena Leon? What about Priscilla Hale? Not Priscilla Hale? What about...
I'm it.
We're going to get right back to you, I promise you. Shane Johnson. Why don't you come on down? You'll be at the other podium. Your floor, sir.
Greetings, Council. My name is Mike Canati. As an Austin resident and lifelong consumer of the city parks, I learned to swim at Bartholomew Pool, worked at Northwest Pool, hung out with my friends at Zilker Park without getting caught doing anything illegal. I watched my mom volunteer at Mayfield Park and learned myself to volunteer at Barton Springs Pool, and now have recently formed a new group, the Barton Springs Conservancy, to help give the city a chance to give back. So I'm here with the other parks advocates, and Colin Wallace spoke eloquently about the needs for additional $5 million for the parks budget earlier today. And without belaboring that, I did want to at least burn this request into your mind with a short limerick that I've prepared. It's going to make you groan, but bear with me. Now that the council has met for the 2018 budget to vet, we hope that you will grant an extra $5 million for our parks operating budget.
Is Shane Johnson here? Yeah. Right up. What about Jen Margalis? No. What about Kevin Ye? What about Alexandra Castaneda? What about Eleanor Earnhardt? What about Jornay Coleman? No. What about Uzi McCoy? Uzi McCoy? No. What about Timothy Bray? Okay. Please proceed. Your floor, sir.
I can't have their time?
No.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Shane Johnson, he, him pronouns. I'm a resident of District 7. I'm also representing Austin Justice Coalition, and I just would like to provide a little more context for y'all to understand the benefits that APD are receiving that you would expect would be given to a police force that is extremely accountable to the community and is not failing them in many ways, but which they receive nonetheless. So among cities of comparable size to Austin, they receive the highest base pay in the state. They have the highest step pay, so the increase or raises with seniority. They have faster accrual of sick and vacation time than allowed under state civil service law. They have higher termination payout of accrued sick and vacation time compared to state civil service law. So that is often like a payout of 6 months of vacation time when an officer leaves. And they have additional longevity bonuses. So they get bonuses for seniority on top of getting raises for seniority. So I just want to emphasize that a police department that is not meeting the needs and accountable to its community should not be receiving so many benefits. Thank you for your time and staying so late.
Is Rosalie Miller here? Rosalie Miller? Go ahead.
Cool. So I'm here in support of Austin Justice Coalition and their 8 points, getting at the roots of the problems, not just trying to apply more police to those problems. I believe holding the police accountable will ultimately be a pro-justice position, and I don't think a pro-justice position is anti-police. I think it's better for everyone. I'm also wanted to support equitable distribution of resources. Historically, a lot of areas have been underserved. We still have the legacy of segregation in our budget, and I just want to make sure that advocate for supporting those underserved communities more, not just the people who've historically been the loudest or that can lobby or can call 311 the most often. As a resident of District 10, I want to see more funding in District 1, 2, 3, and 4. I also want to support co-op funding to address the problems with co-ops. Co-ops are a very affordable form of housing. I have lots of friends that live in co-ops and people that would be wouldn't be able to live in Austin without co-ops. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone signed up to speak this evening that I have not called? Okay. I'll now entertain a motion to recess today's public comment portion of the budget hearing. Will someone make that motion? Mr. Flanagan makes the motion. Is there a second to that motion? Ms. Poole seconds that motion. Any discussion? Those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed? Is everyone on the dais with and Kitchen gone and Troxclair is gone? It's late. The motion passes. So we are recessed. That was the last item that we had to cover this evening. So we are going to adjourn the meeting today at 10:24. Thank you.